Our gospel reading is the feeding of the 5,000. And I remember when I was in high school, at my home parish, a religious sister came to give a mission appeal. One of those, basically describing what her order is doing. I think they were working in Africa at the time. And she gave a reflection on the gospel reading for that weekend, which was the feeding of the 5,000. And I remember at the time, what she said. She was talking about how, maybe instead of Jesus working a literal miracle in terms of breaking the bread and having it, actually Him multiplying the bread until it was overflowing 12 baskets afterwards, maybe what happened was when people saw the boy share his food, then everyone else decided to share their food. Now at the time, I didn't really think much of it. I was in high school and didn't really care, and I was just waiting for coffee and donuts. And but as time has gone on, and I've thought back many times to that, I've recognized there's a couple of problems with that theory. Now, first of all, it's not really practical. It's not like 5,000 hungry people were starving or hungry, and then all of a sudden they realized, oh, you know what, I've got bread in my pocket. I can share that with each other. No, they were hungry. They didn't have food, so there wasn't any food for them to be sharing with each other. So you have practical things like that. You also have, though, I think what's more deeply troubling about that is that the longer I've studied and kind of been in the Catholic faith and really kind of taken my faith serious, I've come across a lot of different examples over the last 100 years or so, and we're seeing it more and more, and you probably know people as well who believe this way. There's this constant push, it seems, to explain away miracles, to try and say, oh, well, there's a natural explanation. What happened was actually people just shared with each other. Or, you can explain away any of the other, well, what happened, it wasn't that God stopped the Jordan River from flowing and reversed its course. The tide was just weird, and the moon was in a certain alignment. And all of these miracles, maybe when the Israelites split the Red Sea, it wasn't actually the Red Sea, and maybe it was just a pond, and, they all made, well, then how did the Egyptians drown, You have all of these, there's a lot of people, there's a big push to explain away miracles and make them not be miracles anymore. And I think that that's really dangerous and really problematic, and something that we have to be wary of. It's not just something to sort of sit around and discuss and say, well, I wonder if that miracle was real or not. No, these questions matter and have a big impact on us. We are a faith, we are a people who believe in the miraculous. We believe in the miraculous. And that is what many people need in their life. They need this idea that the miraculous is possible, not only in the past, but also in our own lives right now. And we see, I think, this push to somehow explain away the supernatural, that which is, not part of our world. Maybe we're afraid, maybe we don't understand, maybe we're worried about what that's going to mean if God does enter into our world. And so there's this attempt by lots of people to keep God, either God's not real, or God stays in heaven and doesn't come down and mix with our world. But we don't believe that as Catholics. We don't believe that at all. And I think what we see over the last century or so is when we as Catholics start to tell people that miracles aren't possible, or when Christians are out there saying, the miraculous, there's explanations for it. It wasn't really that miraculous. Well, people are just going to go elsewhere because we know in our hearts that the miraculous is possible. That there is not just this natural part of us, but that we, in fact, ourselves are a mixing of the supernatural and the natural. That there's not just this world that we see in front of us. We know that in ourselves. We have that written on our hearts because we aren't just natural people ourselves. We are We have divinity, the divinity dwelling within us. And we know we're made for more. And so when everyone's running around telling us, oh, there's nothing miraculous, there is no mixing of the supernatural and the natural, if we're doing that, people are just going to look elsewhere for people who will tell them that the supernatural is possible. I think one of the great ways that we see that, you look at the movies and what pop culture is sort of producing. Every 10 minutes, there's a new superhero movie that comes out. Why is that? It's because those movies tell people that the miraculous is possible. I think of the Spider-Man movie they just made this summer, and this is the first time I really felt old. They remade a movie that was only 10 years old. The other Spider-Man movie was out in 2001, and they're already remaking it. Why? People must be craving this. You know, the Batman movies are out there, and some of the top movies of all time. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, top 5, 3 of the top 5 movies of all time. Why? Why is the Narnia series? Why, no matter what you think of it, why did young people devour the Harry Potter series? They devoured it because so many people are out there telling them that the miraculous isn't possible, that there is nothing special, that there is no mingling of the supernatural and the natural. And so when people tell them that, we look elsewhere. We look for people who do believe in the miraculous and who do believe that the supernatural and the natural mix. And it's so hard when we're out there trying to convince people and draw people in and tell them, hey, this faith, our faith, we're a faith of miracles. We're a faith that believes that the supernatural and the natural have come together in Christ, in us, in the sacraments. Well, then as soon as they get here and then we start telling them, well, there isn't, don't worry, they just, Jesus didn't divide and make lots of bread. They just shared with each other. Well, then the very thing we're trying to draw people in and convince them of, we're now telling them isn't true. And so I think we have to reclaim, I'm not saying this is you, I'm just saying we as a Catholic faith, as a Catholic church, as people, have to reclaim that belief in the miraculous. And that not only that it happened in the past, but that it happens now. And that it is possible and that God may work miracles right now at this very altar, by mixing the natural, bread and wine, with His supernatural, His Son, body, blood, soul, and divinity, that the supernatural and the natural mix in us, that it's happening all the time, and that God still heals people and still works miracles in our lives and in our own time as well. That message is a message that will draw people in. Not this explaining away and trying to be people who are always trying to explain away the miraculous and say that nothing really happened. Again, we believe that in just a minute at this altar, a miracle will take place. That once again, the natural and the supernatural will mix. And we believe, of course, that happens all the time. May we be people who spread the good news and the joy that the miraculous happened in the past, and that it continues to happen right now in our very midst.